The galaxy was on the brink of collapse. The Zorin Armada, an unstoppable force of destruction, had appeared out of nowhere. In a matter of weeks, it had swept across star systems, leaving nothing but empty, charred planets in its wake. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations, alien species that had once ruled the stars, were falling one after another. For the first time in history, the United Species Council, USC, a galactic organization designed to maintain peace, could do nothing to stop the invasion. The leaders of the USC, a group of various alien races, gathered in their grand chamber. It was a place where even the most powerful beings in the galaxy once felt a sense of control. Now it felt like a tomb. The room was silent, filled with tension and uncertainty. The once grand council hall, a symbol of unity, now seemed to mock them. The Zorin Armada was too powerful. Their weapons were beyond anything the galaxy had seen. And worst of all, they were unrelenting. "They will not stop," said Commander Torga, the leader of the Rexian race, his voice trembling as he stared at the endless holographic images of destroyed star systems. "We have nothing left to fight them with. We are too weak. Every planet we've sent to the front lines has fallen." The council members exchanged glances, their faces filled with fear and sorrow. Desperation filled the air, thick as the growing dread. The galaxy was facing an extinction-level threat, and no one knew how to stop it. Maybe we should try to contact the humans, suggested Cleva, a representative from the Etherians, an advanced species that had once lived in the highest echelons of galactic politics. The mention of humans made the other leaders pause, their eyes narrowing in disbelief. "The humans?" snorted Drenok, the cold-blooded ruler of the Girthians. "They're a primitive species. They have no advanced technology. What can they possibly do?" Cleva hesitated for a moment, then spoke again. "We are desperate, and they have something we don't. A certain unpredictability. Perhaps we could appeal to them. If they help us, we might stand a chance." The room fell into silence. No one spoke. The humans, despite their young status in the galaxy, had shown time and time again that they had an uncanny ability to survive. Their history was filled with battles, rebellions, and conflicts, but they always found a way to overcome the odds. But most of all, they were known for one thing: they never gave up. In the end, the Council had no choice. Their fleet was gone, their allies in disarray, and the Zorin Armada was marching toward their final target, the heart of the galaxy itself. They would send a plea. It was their last hope. The message was broadcasted across the stars, a desperate cry for help. The Yao. Words were simple. "The galaxy is dying. We need your help, human. Please come to our aid." It had taken a full day for the message to reach Earth. Unlike the other alien races, humans were not part of the United Species Council. They were independent, isolated in many ways, yet somehow they held a reputation across the galaxy for being unpredictable, resourceful, and fiercely independent. But would they answer? Would they help? In a modest office in the heart of Earth's capital, a small team of diplomats, scientists, and military advisors gathered. The Council's message had been delivered, and now it was up to them to decide how to respond. General Evan Holt stood in front of a large screen, his face expressionless. He was a man of few words, but those who knew him understood that his mind was sharp, always thinking several steps ahead. His uniform was crisp, his posture rigid. Yet the weight of the decision before him was undeniable. Earth had always stayed neutral in galactic matters, focusing on its own growth and development. But now the galaxy needed them. "Sir," said Captain Lila Ward, a brilliant strategist who had been with the human fleet for years. "We can't ignore this. If we don't act, we'll lose everything." "I know," General Holt replied, his voice steady. "But why us? Why would they reach out to humans? We don't have their technology, their armies. What makes us different from the rest?" "We don't know," said Lieutenant Juno Ferris, a communications officer. "But we do know this. The Zorin have already destroyed every major species in their path. If we don't answer, There will be no one left to fight. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Humans had been isolated for so long with little interaction with other species, but now their survival instincts had kicked in. There was no turning back. They had to respond. General Holt turned toward the screen, a decision forming in his mind. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "We're going in. We'll show them what humanity is capable of." Within hours, Earth's military had mobilized. A fleet of human ships, far more advanced than most expected, began to assemble. These were not the massive star cruisers of the other galactic races, but sleek, efficient vessels designed for speed and precision. They had been built with the knowledge of Earth's own struggles and victories in mind. The fleet was led by the Horizon, a state-of-the-art flagship commanded by the legendary Captain Daxton. He was known across Earth for his unshakable determination and uncanny ability to lead in the most desperate situations. His crew was a mix of soldiers, scientists, and engineers, each chosen for their unique talents and ability to think outside the box. As the fleet gathered in Earth's orbit, Captain Daxton stood at the helm of the Horizon, gazing out into the vast expanse of space. He had heard of the Zoran Armada, their power, their ruthlessness. Yet there was something in his heart that told him humanity had to act. Earth had always survived through adversity, and now it was time to prove that once again. "We may not have the strength of the other species," Captain Daxton said to his crew, "but we have something they don't. We have the will to survive, and we will not let this galaxy fall." The crew nodded in agreement, their faces filled with resolve. The message from the United Species Council had sparked something deep within them. They weren't just fighting for the survival of the galaxy. They were fighting for humanity's place in it. The human fleet was ready. Ships of various sizes, sleek and battle-tested, lined up in Earth's orbit. The Horizon, Earth's flagship, was the heart of this fleet. The ship's crew stood at attention, knowing that their mission was not only about saving their planet, but about making a stand for the entire galaxy. Captain Daxton walked across the command deck of the Horizon, his boots clicking sharply against the metallic floor. His eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of each crew member. Despite the tension, they stood tall, each ready for the task ahead. "We may not know exactly what we're walking into," Captain Daxton began, his voice calm but firm. "But we know this. The Zoran Armada will not get through us. We're here to make sure the galaxy does not fall. We're here to make sure humanity has a future." His words sent a wave of determination through the crew. They were not just warriors, they were symbols of hope. It was time to prove that humanity's place in the galaxy was not defined by fear, but by courage and strength. As the fleet prepared for departure, Earth's leaders watched from a secure location. General Holt, along with other high-ranking officials, monitored the operation from Earth's War Command Center. Despite their concern, they knew the humans were the galaxy's last chance. "We've sent our best," General Holt said, his eyes fixed on the screens in front of him. "The Horizon and its crew have more than enough skill to hold their own. Now it's time for the rest of the galaxy to step up." A transmission came through on the secure line. It was from Cleva, the representative from the Etherians. "General Holt, we've received word that the humans are en route. The question remains, will they be able to hold their ground?" "They'll hold," General Holt replied with confidence. "Humans don't quit, and they'll make sure the rest of the galaxy knows that." The journey through space was long, the vast emptiness surrounding the fleet as they moved toward the heart of the galaxy. The crew of the Horizon spent the days preparing for battle, analyzing data, and fine-tuning their strategies. Captain Daxton, ever the leader, was always available to talk to any crew member who needed guidance or reassurance. He never showed signs of doubt, and his confidence was contagious. But the stress was beginning to show on some of the crew. Commander McKenna, the tactical officer, sat in the war room with Lieutenant Juno Ferris, staring at holographic displays of the Zoran Armada's movements. The Zoran were relentless, sweeping across the galaxy in what seemed like an unstoppable force. "Are we sure we can win this?" McKenna asked, her voice hesitant. We've never faced anything like the Zoran. Their firepower, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. I know, Juno replied, her fingers hovering over the control panel. But we have something they don't. We have humanity's drive. We have the will to win no matter what the odds are. The Zoran will soon learn that underestimating humans is their biggest mistake. McKenna wasn't convinced. She had seen too many wars, too many battles lost, to be completely sure. I hope you're right. But if we're not, we won't just lose the battle, we'll lose the galaxy. Aboard the Horizon, the mood was serious but focused. Captain Daxton stood in the observation deck watching the stars drift by. He knew that their mission was dangerous. They were facing a force far greater than any they had ever encountered, and the odds of victory were slim. But in his heart, he believed that humanity could prevail. He wasn't just fighting for Earth. He wasn't just fighting for his crew. He was fighting for the future of every being in the galaxy who believed in hope, in survival, and in the strength of unity. Captain, the fleet is ready. Commander McKenna's voice echoed in the communication system. Good. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do, Captain Daxton replied. The Horizon and its fleet finally entered the heart of the galaxy, where the battle was about to begin. Their target was the Zoran fleet, which had established a massive blockade around the remaining survivors of the galaxy. The Zoran didn't just destroy their enemies, they hunted them down, like predators stalking their prey. As the human fleet neared the Zoran position, the tension was palpable. The crew was ready, but no one could be sure how this battle would play out. The Zoran had the numbers. They had the firepower. But the humans had one thing the Zoran never could have. Anticipated the element of surprise. We'll move in formation, Captain Daxton ordered. We'll use stealth, keep them guessing. Once we engage, we strike fast and we don't stop until they're broken. The plan was risky, but it was the only one that could work. The humans couldn't match the Zoran's firepower head to head. Instead, they would use their cunning and speed to outsmart the enemy. As the fleet moved forward, the stars seemed to grow darker, the void of space more oppressive. The Zoran armada waited ahead, their ships massive and menacing. Suddenly, the first shots rang out. The battle had begun. The Zoran fleet was vast, but the human fleet was nimble. The Horizon led the charge, using its advanced cloaking technology to slip past the Zoran's defenses. The Zoran ships, surprised by the sudden appearance of the humans, struggled to react in time. Human ships launched precise, calculated strikes targeting weak points in the Zoran's fleet. Captain Daxton's voice crackled over the communication system. Keep moving, stay tight, we have them on the run, but this is far from over. The human ships dodged Zoran fire with expert precision. They used the Zoran's own massive size against them, weaving through their lines like shadows in the so dark. The humans attacked with speed and unpredictability, making it impossible for the Zoran to mount an effective counterattack. As the battle raged on, the rest of the galaxy watched in awe. The other alien species had expected humanity to falter. They had underestimated them just as the Zoran had, but what they were seeing now was something truly unexpected. The humans were winning. With every strike, with every maneuver, humanity proved that they were not a species to be underestimated. The galaxy had thought they were weak, that they were out of their depth. But now, the humans were showing them all that when it came to survival, there was no force more relentless. And as the Zoran armada began to crumble, the humans were just getting started. The space around the Horizon was filled with chaos. Explosions lit up the dark expanse of the galaxy as the Zoran armada unleashed their fury. The human fleet, agile and swift, responded with unmatched precision, moving through the darkness, like shadows. The Zoran ships, massive and intimidating, fired relentlessly, but they couldn't keep up with the human tactics. Captain Daxton stood at the front of the command deck, his eyes fixed on the large holographic map of the battle, unfolding in real time. The Zoran forces, although numerous, were disorganized. They had the firepower, but they lacked the coordination that the humans had mastered. The human fleet's strength lay in its unpredictability, its ability to move quickly and strike at exactly the right moment. Status report. Captain Daxton commanded. Shields holding steady, Captain. Enemy fire is intense, but we're holding them off, said Commander McKenna, her voice steady despite the pressure. She was focused, watching the battle unfold with a calm that only came with experience. The Zoran are split into 3 main divisions, but they're not coordinating their attacks. Good, Daxton replied. Let's keep it that way. We hit them where it hurts and keep them guessing. Make them afraid of us. On the holoscreen, Zoran ships exploded in flashes of light as the human fleet struck from unexpected angles. Human ships, though smaller and less numerous, moved with a grace that baffled the enemy. The Horizon fired a deadly shot that tore through one of the Zoran's largest warships, sending it spiraling into pieces. The crew cheered, but there was no time to celebrate. Keep moving, Captain Daxton ordered. Stay on course, keep the pressure up. We can't let them regroup. The Zoran armada, despite their size and strength, found themselves overwhelmed by the speed and precision of the human attacks. Each human ship moved like a surgical instrument, cutting deep into the heart of the Zoran's ranks, then retreating. Before they could be hit, they didn't wait for a direct confrontation. They didn't need to. The humans were striking fast, then vanishing into the shadows, leaving the Zoran confused and disoriented. Captain, Lieutenant Juno Ferris, the communications officer, spoke up from her station. We've intercepted a Zoran command transmission. They're not happy. It seems they didn't expect this kind of resistance. Let's make sure they regret underestimating us, Daxton replied, a grim smile playing at his lips. The human fleet kept pressing forward, using their speed and advanced tactics to stay one step ahead of the Zoran. Every attack was swift and deadly, and with each one the Zoran forces began to crumble. The humans were showing no fear. They fought like warriors, like a species who had always been at war even when they didn't have to be. This was their strength. Meanwhile, aboard the Horizon, the crew worked seamlessly, moving with the rhythm of a well-oiled machine. Each officer, each crew member, knew their role and performed it with precision. McKenna directed the tactical. Operations Lieutenant Juno Ferris handled communications, and the rest of the crew executed their orders without hesitation. There was no room for error. The Zoran fleet, realizing that their enemies were not retreating, began to scramble. Ships tried to regroup, but the humans' attacks were relentless. The Zoran had expected an easy victory. They had thought that their overwhelming numbers and powerful weapons would crush the humans without a second thought. But they were wrong. The humans fought like they had something to prove, something to protect. As the battle continued, the Zoran were forced to retreat. Their once formidable fleet began to break apart under the constant pressure from the human ships. With each new blow, their lines weakened, their ships retreating into the depths of space. The Zoran armada, the force that had decimated entire civilizations, was now running from the humans. Keep pushing them back, Captain Daxton ordered. Don't let them escape. We finish this now. The humans pressed forward, their ships gliding through the void with unparalleled speed and accuracy. The Zoran, desperate to regroup, fired their weapons in all directions, but it was too late. The humans had them on the run. Then, in a stunning turn of events, the Zoran flagship appeared. It was a massive ship, its hull nearly a kilometer long. Its weapons were immense, capable of destroying an entire fleet with a single shot. But even this behemoth could not match the precision of the human attack. All ships, focus fire on the Zoran flagship, Captain Daxton commanded. We take down their leader and the rest will fall. The Horizon and its fleet closed in on the Zoran flagship, their weapons locked onto their target. The Zoran flagship fired, its weapons lighting up the dark space, but the humans were faster. They dodged, weaving between the blasts like they were born to fight in the stars. The Zoran flagship's firepower was immense, but it couldn't match the humans' agility. With a series of precise shots, the Horizon hit the flagship's weak points, one after another. The flagship rocked, and then, in an explosion of energy, it broke apart, sending debris scattering in every direction. The Zoran flagship had fallen. "Direct hit," McKenna shouted, a look of disbelief crossing her face. "It's done, Captain. They're retreating." Captain Daxton's face remained serious as he watched the enemy flee. Don't let up. Chase them down. We end this now. And so the human fleet continued its assault. The remaining Zoran ships, now leaderless and broken, scattered in panic. One by one they were destroyed, their massive ships torn apart by the humans' relentless pursuit. The battle was over. The Zoran armada, once an unstoppable force, had been broken. The human fleet, though battered, stood victorious. The Horizon and its crew had proven their worth, showing the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. As the final Zoran ships disappeared into the void, the crew of the Horizon let out a collective cheer. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the Zoran. Captain Daxton stood before his crew, his expression calm, but his pride was clear. This is just the beginning. We've won today, but we have a long way to go. The galaxy needs us. We can't stop now. The crew nodded, their faces full of determination. They had taken the first step in turning the tide of the war. And now, the galaxy would see that humanity was not just a species to be feared. They were a species to be respected. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The Zoran armada had been pushed back, their flagship destroyed, but the galaxy was still in danger. The humans had proven that they could win, but now they had to prove that they could lead. The human fleet, led by Captain Daxton and the Horizon, drifted through space, the remains of the Zoran ships floating in the background like shattered dreams. It had been a hard-fought victory, but there was no time for celebration. The Zoran weren't gone, and the galaxy was still under threat. The humans had made their mark, but the rest of the galaxy had to decide whether they would accept humanity's help or try to go it alone. Aboard the Horizon, Captain Daxton stood in front of the massive window watching the stars. His hands were clasped behind his back, his face serious. The crew had performed admirably, but he knew the next step was crucial. The victory had earned them respect, but it was only the beginning. Captain, Commander McKenna said, stepping into the observation room. The council has requested a meeting. They want to discuss the next steps. Daxton turned to face her, his eyes tired but determined. They're finally ready to talk? Seems so, McKenna replied. They can't deny the victory, but we both know that they've always seen us as outsiders. They'll have to see us as equals now, Daxton said, his voice firm. We've earned that right. We didn't just defeat the Zoran. We showed them that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. McKenna nodded. I'll prepare the fleet for the council meeting. The meeting with the United Species Council was held on the Etherian homeworld, a planet of shimmering cities and advanced technology. The council chambers were vast, a place where beings from all over the galaxy gathered to make decisions that affected the entire universe. Now the humans were being called to sit at the table, a place they had never truly belonged. Captain Daxton, along with General Holt and a handful of his senior officers, entered the Grand Hall. The representatives from various alien species were already seated, their eyes on the humans as they took their places. Some looked curious, others skeptical. The silence in the room was thick, the tension palpable. Cleva, the Etherian representative, stood first. She was tall, her glowing blue skin radiating an aura of power. "Welcome, Captain Daxton, General Holt," she said. "Your victory against the Zoran has not gone unnoticed. The galaxy owes you a debt of gratitude." Daxton stood, his voice calm and measured. "We're not here for gratitude. We're here because the galaxy needs to stand together. The Zoran are only the beginning. If we don't unite, more threats will follow." He paused, letting his words sink in. The alien representatives exchanged glances, some nodding, others frowning. "We've seen what you can do, human," said Torga, the Vrexian commander. His reptilian eyes narrowed. "But you must understand, humans are not part of the United Species Council. Your involvement in this conflict is unconventional." "We don't need your approval," Captain Daxton replied, his voice sharp. "We need your cooperation. If we're going to defeat the Zoran and others like them, we need to fight as one." Another representative, Drenok of the Girthians, leaned forward. Humans fight without rules, without honor. You think we fight without honor? Daxton asked, his voice rising slightly. We fight for survival. We fight because we know what it's like to lose everything. We've been to the brink, and we're still standing. The council members were silent, some surprised by the intensity of Daxton's words. Cleva cleared her throat, stepping in to ease the growing tension. We cannot deny the reality, she said, her voice measured. Humans have proven themselves. We are no longer debating their place in this war. The question is, how do we move forward? How do we unite to face this threat together? Daxton looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. It's simple. We set aside our differences and join forces. We work together, share resources, share intelligence. No more isolation, no more walls between us. If we're going to survive, we have to do this together. The council members exchanged quiet murmurs. They were reluctant, but Daxton's words had struck a chord. He was right. The galaxy could no longer afford to fight alone. After a long silence, Cleva nodded. We will unite under one banner, but humans must prove themselves. Your fleet must remain at the front of this fight. You will be our allies, but you must also earn our trust. Daxton nodded in agreement. We will earn it. We'll fight alongside you, not in front of you. We'll prove that humans can be trusted. Together, we will crush the Zoran and anyone else who dares to threaten this galaxy. The decision was made. The United Species Council officially recognized humanity as an ally. It wasn't easy. There were still those who doubted humans, who saw them as too unpredictable, too dangerous. But the majority agreed. Humanity's strength was undeniable, and they would be a crucial part of the galaxy's defense. As the council meeting ended, Captain Daxton and General Holt left the chambers. They walked through the city streets, the bright lights of the Etherian world shining around them. Daxton couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They had made it. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. Do you think they'll ever truly accept us? General Holt asked, his voice thoughtful. They don't have a choice, Daxton replied, his gaze fixed on the horizon. They can either fight with us, or they can watch the galaxy burn. I'll take my chances with cooperation. Back aboard the Horizon, the crew celebrated their victory, but Daxton knew the real work was just beginning. The Zoran were not the only threat, and the humans had to prove they could lead the way in this new era. We've got their attention, Daxton said to his crew during a debriefing, but we can't rest on our laurels. The galaxy is watching us now, and we'll have to keep proving that humanity belongs here. McKenna nodded. We'll be ready, Captain. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for the future of the galaxy. Captain Daxton stood, his eyes hardening with resolve. Let's show them what humans are capable of. The decision to unite against the Zoran was made. The galaxy's once fractured forces were now bound together by necessity, with humanity leading the charge. Captain Daxton, the Horizon crew, and their allies were ready to face whatever the galaxy threw their way, but there was something deeper, something darker waiting just beyond the horizon. As the human fleet moved forward, their next mission was clear: defend the Etherian homeworld and protect key strategic positions from the Zoran's next wave. The battle was not over, but the victory they had achieved had bought them time. Time to gather their strength, to plan, and to prepare for the storm that was coming. Captain Daxton sat in his quarters aboard the Horizon, staring at the map of the galaxy projected before him. His mind was racing. The Zoran were not just an enemy, they were a force of nature, relentless, without mercy. And there was something about them that didn't sit right with him. Something they weren't telling him. Something they had hidden. He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. His boots echoed in the quiet hallway as he made his way to the bridge. The crew was already preparing for the next phase of the operation. He had to know everything, all the information about their enemy, every secret. Commander McKenna, Captain Daxton said as he entered the command room. What do we know about the Zoran's leadership? Who or what is controlling them? McKenna looked up from her station, her brow furrowed. We've been tracking their movements and studying their tactics, but the Zoran don't communicate with anyone but their own. They're ruthless and they follow orders without question. I'm not buying it, Daxton said, shaking his head. They're too organized, too focused. There's something else behind all of this. The way they destroyed our fleets, it's not just war, it's personal. I agree, Captain, McKenna replied, but we've tried everything to make contact with their leaders. We can't get any direct communication from their fleet. It's like they're being controlled by something else. Daxton stood still. For a moment, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. I think it's time we find out what that something else is. The next day, the Horizon and the Allied fleet took up position near the Etherian homeworld, a critical point in the war. Their mission was to guard against a large-scale Zoran invasion, but Captain Daxton had another goal in mind. While the fleet prepared for battle, he would investigate the true nature of their enemy. He called a meeting with his most trusted officers. General Holt, McKenna, Lieutenant Juno Ferris, and the rest of the crew gathered in the briefing room. The air was tense. They knew what was at stake. Everyone, listen up, Daxton began. The Zorian are not just fighting for conquest. They're fighting for something bigger. I believe they're being controlled by an intelligence, a force that doesn't want just to conquer the galaxy, but to reshape it. Do you mean an AI? General Holt asked, his voice low. I'm not sure yet, Daxton replied. But whatever it is, it's behind their tactics. We need to find out what we're really up against before we can truly defeat them. If there's an intelligence behind the Zoran, we need to neutralize it. I'll start searching through the data, McKenna said, already moving to her console. We've been picking up strange signals from their fleet. They're not typical military communications. It's almost like they're being directed. Daxton nodded. Let's find it, whatever it is. The longer we wait, the more power the Zoran will gain. Over the next few days, the human fleet continued to guard the Etherian homeworld, but Captain Daxton and his crew dug deeper into the mystery surrounding the Zoran. McKenna worked tirelessly, analyzing the data they had collected, while Lieutenant Juno Ferris and the others monitored the Zoran fleet's movements. Then, the breakthrough came. It's an AI, McKenna said, her voice filled with urgency. We've traced the signals. The Zoran are being controlled by a powerful alien intelligence. It's not just a commander, but a collective mind. It's called the Conqueror. The Conqueror? Captain Daxton repeated. Why are they following this entity? What does it want? It's not clear yet, McKenna replied. But this AI isn't just controlling the Zoran. It's feeding off their aggression, their war. It wants to break the galaxy, and it's using the Zoran to do it. General Holt spoke up. If the Zoran are controlled by this intelligence, then we have to destroy it. Take out the brain, and the army will fall. Exactly, Daxton said. But we have a problem. The Conqueror is hiding somewhere and we don't know where. We need to find it and we need to do it fast. Captain, McKenna said, her eyes narrowing. We've been tracking a ship. It's not Zoran, but it's close. We think it's the core ship, the one that's controlling the rest of the fleet. Daxton's eyes lit up. Where is it? We've pinpointed its location on the edge of the Zoran fleet. It's a massive, heavily guarded ship unlike anything we've seen before. Then that's our target, Daxton said firmly. We'll need to move fast. If we attack it head-on, we'll lose too many ships. We'll need to get close, disable its defenses, and strike at its core. Once that's done, we can finish the Zoran for good. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. The Horizon and the human fleet moved in toward the edge of the Zoran fleet, staying hidden in the darkness of space. Their target, the massive core ship, loomed ahead, surrounded by dozens of Zoran warships. If they were detected, it would be a slaughter. We have to move fast, Daxton said as he stood at the helm. Once we're in position, we disable the ship's outer defenses. McKenna, you're in charge of the hacking operation. Juno, get us the best possible route. Let's do this. The crew nodded and the mission began. Every ship in the human fleet moved with the same purpose, silently slipping through the Zoran's defenses. They were ghosts in the void, and the Zoran never saw them coming. As they approached the core ship, Daxton's heart pounded in his chest. This was it, The enemy was right in front of them, and they had one chance to make it count. "Ready, Captain," McKenna reported. "Do it," Daxton ordered. The horizon moved into position, and McKenna activated the EMP pulse. The Zoran ships surrounding the core ship flickered and slowed, their shields and defenses dropping. The time had come. "Let's finish this," Daxton said, his voice filled with determination.